Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Boris Johnson's latest excuse for signing an international treaty which apparently now it turns out wasn't all that good. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So more Brexit news, of course. I mean, we always knew that this was going to be a big week for Brexit news. I could have predicted that many months ago, but for completely the wrong reason, because this is a week when we are having the important, indeed vital, penultimate round of Brexit talks. Those are taking place right now. The final round takes place at the end of September, after which that's it. No more talks. So we expected that if Boris Johnson genuinely wanted a deal, and of course it's possible that he never wanted a deal, that this is the week he would tell our chief negotiator, David Frost, to start being serious. In fact, I've thought that what they'd been saying in the previous weeks seemed to suggest that they sort of wanted a deal. They probably wouldn't get one because they don't really understand what deal is acceptable, but that they wanted one. It might even have been the week in which we offered up our proposals for all of those issues that we are saying that the EU proposals are unacceptable. They've kept saying, well, what are your proposals then? Oh, we're not going to tell you. You just need to make your proposals better. Maybe we would have handed those over this week. No. In the British media, the talks are hardly been discussed at all. In fact, in some media, they are not being discussed at all. And it's not that they're not discussing Brexit. Oh, they are. It's headline news. The fact that the penultimate round of Brexit talks is taking place right now is not even the most important Brexit news right now. How does that happen? Even the specifically Brexit news has the actual talks going on way down on the schedule of things to discuss. I haven't talked about them at all. No point. That is because Boris Johnson has rendered those talks a complete waste of time. Maybe there'll be some sort of press conference at the end of the week and I'll have a look at that, but what do I expect that to say? It's a non-event news-wise now. Because with Boris Johnson's announcement that he intends to rip up the withdrawal agreement, the talks going on right now are pointless. The thing is that, major Western powers have done this in the past. They have torn up international treaties. It's not like we're the first major Western power to do this. It has happened. It's happened in the past century. It's happened in my lifetime. And the consequences have been variable. It does sort of depend to what extent you're breaking those treaties, who is affected by them and how powerful you are. But one thing that always happens as far as I can tell, is that you are shunned by the international community as being fundamentally untrustworthy. Also, we have to say at this point, from the point of view of Brexit supporters, what happened to Brexit means Brexit. Because Remainers like myself were apparently we were being obtuse whenever we said, well, there's different types of Brexit. We should have a vote on what form of Brexit and decide if that's what they want or they'd rather just stay in the EU. And no. Brexit means Brexit, we were told. I mean, it's simple enough, you munchkins. So if Brexit means Brexit, how come the Brexit that they all cheered a year ago, all of them, delighted with it, cock a hoop, which in itself was not the one promised in 2016, how come that Brexit is now no longer the Brexit that they meant? Could it be that there are different types of Brexit and that actually Brexit is a wee bit more complicated than some people thought? So the excuse now, the excuse that is coming out of number 10 Downing Street is that the withdrawal agreement was rushed through without proper consideration for all the details. Was it? Was it really? Because I seem to remember a lot of opposition MPs and general opponents to Brexit in general, I said general twice there, an awful lot of people anyway said this. Just last year they said Boris Johnson wanted to rush it through in 3 days. MPs went, don't be daft, we need to read this. And he went, no you don't, it's fine, I've looked at it myself, it's all kosher. And Other people like myself are saying this is ridiculous. MPs are never going to be able to apply the proper scrutiny. In fact, we don't really expect MPs to apply scrutiny. We expect constitutional and legal experts to do it, and then for the MPs to represent us by putting those concerns to Parliament in a debate. So, Boris Johnson is effectively saying, by going, oh, well, that's because, yeah, all right, it wasn't quite what I thought because my understanding was different, but it was all rushed through. I mean, So what Boris Johnson is saying is that his political opponents were correct a year ago. And yet, even though they were right, he should still be the one to lead the country, not the people who were right. No. Are we really that thick as a country that we accept that? The Prime Minister saying that his political opponents were correct about his Brexit withdrawal agreement. He was wrong, but actually he's not standing down. He's still the person to take us, well, he says forward. In reality, of course, it's backwards. Boris Johnson is also not just asking us to believe that his political opponents are correct and he was wrong. No, more than that. He's also asking us to believe that not a single Conservative MP understood the withdrawal agreement. Not a single, because they voted for it. They all voted for it. Now, I am not suggesting that all Conservative MPs resign as a result of that, because there may well be some Conservative MPs who still say it's a good deal and we should honour it. Fine. That is absolutely fine. They can carry on. But any Conservative MP, including members of the government, including the Prime Minister himself, who are saying, we got the withdrawal agreement wrong, it's actually not very good. They're saying that they got it wrong, that they've willfully or not lied to the public, and that their political opponents are correct. They should resign and trigger by-elections for their seats. Now, are we really going to accept that they shouldn't do that? But whether or not they understood the treaty at the time, and precious few, in all honesty, will have read it. I mean, it was a hefty document. I had to read it several times. And, of course, seek out experts, analysis of it. So, yeah, MPs that voted for it didn't necessarily... In fact, they wouldn't have read it, and they wouldn't have read it since either. The idea that people like Ian Duncan Smith just didn't read it, voted for it, and then just, as their summer reading, decided to read it and go, oh, no, I actually don't like this at all. That's ridiculous. They haven't read it since either. But what they do understand, what I'm absolutely certain they understand, is that tearing it up is an attack on the United Kingdom. Because, well, there's multiple things to this. So, page 1 of the Ministerial Code says that ministers have a duty to comply with the law. That's verbatim what it says in the Ministerial Code. Which means that any minister who has anything to do with this bill, any at all, in its current form, actually has a constitutional duty to resign. They have an actual duty to resign. Naturally, they won't. Any that have any morals at all, of course, would resign rather than have anything to do with it. They wouldn't push it forward and then resign. They'd resign rather than push it forward. As the head of the government's legal department did earlier this week, and I also have to say, a member of the Conservatives front bench in the Welsh Parliament also resigned yesterday over this as well. So, are we really so devoid of morals as a country that we will accept that our government failing to resign, failing this fundamental duty? I mean, we don't even really need them to resign. We just need them to comply with the law. Actually, that's preferable. But we're sort of saying as a country we're okay with that. I do hope that's not the case. Brexiteer supporters need not answer that one. I mean, we'll find out, I suppose, when opinion polls come out. Inevitably, I suppose this will be asked this week. There had already been, I'd noticed, a sharp drop in government approval before this bombshell even came out. Last year, the UK was 12th, by the way, if people didn't know. I don't suppose you would. It's not always headline news. But there is a global ranking of countries who, in terms of their support for the rule of law. Global rankings for all sorts of things. But in terms of countries who support the rule of law, the UK last year was 12th. Now that's a drop compared to 2016 when we were 10th. But it's still high on the list. It's still in the sort of second tier of compliance. We have an index score of 0.8. I shudder to think where this is going to put us. It completely removes our moral authority to call out other rogue states, because apart from anything else, we're going to be below some of them in the international rankings next year. And it also means that countries who do value international partners with respect for the rule of law will shun us. The most senior judge in Northern Ireland, Sir Declan Morgan, I saw a video of him explaining just how damaging the intention to break international law is on those who administer justice, justice departments. Because this isn't just about losing confidence in the international community. That is dangerous enough when we are about to become a hermit country. When we are about to, in a few months' time, we're going to become almost completely isolated. We need agreements. We will not have agreements with other countries. The best we can hope for is some goodwill, but we're shredding that goodwill. But what Sir Declan was pointing out is it also affects the confidence of people domestically in the administration of justice in general. Then there are other problems arising from this, like what you might call side issues from this crass change in policy. Now, there's two that particularly stick to my mind. One, it's allowing Boris Johnson to get everyone talking about Brexit. Now, of course, people should be talking about Brexit, absolutely. It is about to wipe us out. But there's no real discussion being had. It's not actually a debate going on because the Brexit battle lines are firmly established, firmly entrenched. And I know there's a lot of people calling for, the debate to get out there. I want the debate to happen again. But I've got to be honest, there is no way the debate is going to start up again until the consequences hit now. The people who are still supporting Brexit after everything, the people who are still supporting it, are not going to change their mind because the leader of Labour or the leader of the Liberal Democrats starts grandstanding about it. It's not at all. Nothing is going to change their mind now until it becomes reality, until they see it for themselves. They've been told enough times. They've seen the lies. They have seen these Brexiteer charlatans tell lie after lie after lie, and they're still going with it. Nothing is going to change their minds now apart from cold, hard reality. I said earlier that I understood why Starmer turned down the chance to beat Johnson up over his law-breaking threats, because it would mean talking about Brexit. This is a hill that Johnson is currently happy to fight on. But because so much of the media space has been taken up by Brexit, even though it's got nothing to do with any debate, it takes the attention away from COVID. We are heading for our second COVID wave. It's coming. It is now clear as crystal. Boris Johnson is delighted to move the conversation away from that. But by moving the conversation away from that, he is easing pressure on his own MPs from their constituents. That in turn eases the pressure on him and his government from those MPs who would be haranguing them about the ear bending they're getting from their constituents. That means that we carry on making a proper arse of our COVID response, making the situation much, much worse than if public opinion was demanding a better response from our government. And the second problem is that it makes the no-deal Brexit now almost certain. Trust has completely broken down. Why would the EU now agree to anything? There isn't time for Johnson to come away from this, even if he's forced into a U-turn over this, the trust has surely gone. A no deal means tariffs on our exports, quotas, our lack of border preparation. This isn't anything to do with the deal, just the fact that we haven't prepared our borders means delays on getting goods in and out of the country. It means we're potentially going to be breaking more international laws, potentially by accident. Well, that's going to annoy China and America. They're not going to keep quiet. It means security arrangements break down. Boris Johnson may well be expecting that the economic hit from COVID is going to mask that from Brexit, but it still means an economic hit. Doesn't matter whether he can blame it on something else. It's still going to be a fact of life. It means that the country is going to be economically buggered for years to come, particularly when their own MPs are putting pressure on the leadership to not go ahead with tax rises that are needed to actually start making headway there. This sort of governing is not going to turn anything around before the next general election. It can't. These problems are not going to sort themselves out. They need to be sorted out. As others have pointed out, Boris Johnson essentially had two major jobs this year, two major challenges. One, get a Brexit deal. Two, deal with the coronavirus pandemic. He's been failing on both counts all year. But this week's antics surely mean now it's impossible to even salvage anything from either of those challenges now. We're not going to get a better job done of our second wave compared to the first, and we're not, in all likelihood now, going to get any sort of deal, even a bare bones deal. In the meantime, I do have to go to my recurring point in this video. We have a government who are claiming that we are in a mess because they didn't know what they were doing. That is what they were saying. They didn't know what they were doing. And yet somehow they are still the people to carry on deciding things for us. I am trapped on an island run by lunatics. Please send help. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.